inequalities. Again, we're recommending a procedure that you follow. It's probably the simplest procedure you could follow if you want to follow it. We do recommend that. And try not to do any variations unless you fully understand what you're doing. Right, so there's a little bit of confusion about problem number, let's see, number 6, right? So I said, what the solution was, put this over here. And certainly, I'm going to say I believe it's a trivial problem. When I say trivial, I mean the kind of problem that you could give a computer and a computer will have no issues solving it. There are many problems, though, where you give a problem to a computer and it has a tough time solving it. And that goes for inequalities as well. All right, so what I want to do is I want to go to a product that you should be familiar with. I'm not saying you're familiar with now, but you should be during your career at Essex County College. So I'm going to go to this website over here. It's called wolframalpha.com. Wolfram Alpha is a commercial product. However, they allow students and people like me access to a scaled down version of it. So what I did over here was I typed in that I wanted to solve that. And what do I want to solve? X to the 4th power times x minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. And Wolfram does it, and they tell me the results is x equals 0, x is greater than or equal to 2. All right, and that's the answer we got in class. All right, so they also provide a graph for you. You may look at this graph and get confused by it, but more importantly, they also provide a number line solution to the problem, exactly what we said it was in class, where it's hitting exactly at 0, there's only 1 point over there, and it goes from 2 to infinity, all right, including the number 2. I want to go also to do Google, all right? Now, I made reference to Google. It's again a joking way. And Google, I believe is a good product. But again, like most things, if it's a difficult question, Google's not going to answer it. So what I'm going to say, if it's a simple, trivial question, Google's going to be able to answer it. But if you were to type in something really complicated to Google, you can be surprised by the how poor the results are for it. And I do this often. So what I did was I just typed it in. I say solve. I asked it to solve the inequality that we had some issues in classroom about. And what I like about Google, what they do is they give me some possible choices over here. Now I don't want to choose every one, but I want to point out they give me a lot of choices. I'm not going to promote any single one of these guys over here, but what I'm going to claim over here, it can't hurt to look at what you say. All right. So I'm going to just click on this link over here. I'm only going to take one of them. Right, you can do this on your own. I do not recommend doing homework this way or WebAssign. Right, you're not learning anything by doing this. But let me type on this, click on it, I mean, and what do I get? Well, I see they type it up for me. Right, they did that much for me. What else do I see? I see the solution. What does it say? X equals 0 or x is greater than or equal to 2. Just as we said in class. They also write down an interval notation. Something interesting over here, though, they do write down x is 0. What I did in classroom, though, I wrote down the interval 0 to 0, which means x equals 0. I also wrote down the set where I used the squiggly braces and said x is just 0. All right, now that's pretty good. They also identify the intervals by doing this over here. Right, it's good. I mean, I like the product. All right, I want to go to a product that I'm trying to push at Essex, and that's open source software that's being used at most universities, and it's called Sage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Sage. Give me 1 second to do so. And this is Sage. And I typed it into Sage too. I asked Sage to solve the problem, right? And certainly don't worry about this. It's Python. I know it's difficult. If you look at my website, though, there is a link to how to learn Sage, all right? And again, I think it's important you learn products like this. It's an open source, high quality computer algebra system. But what I do over here, basically ask it to solve it. What does it do? It says x is equal to 0. And the other thing it says, or x is greater than or equal to 2. Every single piece of software is telling the same thing. More importantly, though, our goal is to get you to do the problems as being specified in class. We're trying to present a procedure to you that is a simple procedure. There should be no issues about a simple procedure. You should be able to follow it. At some point, think about it. It's critical that you think about what's being presented to you and try to imitate what's being presented to you. I want to do one other product for you, and I'm going to go to Grapher. Grapher I like. It's a commercial product, and what I do is I graphed it out. And what I graph out over here, I don't look strange. It sort of reminds me of the Wolfram Alpha thing. I actually graphed out, the x to the 4th times x minus 2, and we'll learn more about this in future chapters of my guide. But I also indicated in red where that curve is equal to 0 or greater than 0. So over here it's 0, which we knew to be true. It's 0, it's 0. And what else do we know? 2 on out, it's going to be above the 0. It's not a bad piece of software, by the way. Here's the deal, though. As you're doing problems, I do recommend that you start looking at software to do problems. My low bar recommendation to you is this, though, Wolfram Alpha. It's the simplest thing you could do. I mean, you could take every single inequality I've given you in that classroom. You could type it into Wolfram Alpha, just simply solve and type the problem in, and Wolfram Alpha is going to see the problem as a trivial problem and be able to solve it no problem. If you're looking through my notes, though, on occasion, I put down optional problems that are far more difficult. They're non-trivial. What I mean by that, it requires thinking, and that's where a machine might have a tough time with the problem. But anyway, Wolfram Alpha, the URL's up here, wolframalpha.com, and I do recommend it. I recommend you go to wolframalpha.com and play around with the software. Thank you.